Well, shalom again, everybody. Ariel Tzadok here from the KosherTorah School. It is the 16th of October, 2019, 9 o'clock on a Wednesday night here in Knoxville, Tennessee. It's the fourth night of Hol HaMoed. And, we just tried to start a moment ago and had a little glitch here in my phone. Because for those of you who've been with us now, I had glitches on my computer, and now I have glitches on my phone. So I guess I've gotten used to all the glitches. What can I say? But at least now, apparently everything is working and operational. So Baruch Hashem, so we thank God for that. But tonight, we are going to begin one of my new classes. It's going to be called Mind Expansion Meditation. And unlike many other meditation courses that you may have taken in the past, this is not going to be focusing so much on form as much as essence, because I really think that's really what people need to be focusing on these days. Those of you who know me here and been with me at the KosherTorah School, I've taught meditation courses literally for over 20 years. We did the really big course on the Sefer Yetzirah, 40-hour course which dealt with all the details of how to use the Sefer Yetzirah system. We've taught Abulafia meditative courses, Hechalot Merkava, angelic meditative courses, taught a whole bunch of different things. But aside, from all the different techniques that we've taught, my book, Call Upon My Name, my original book, 1993, was all meditation. Walking in the Fire, all about meditation. But all about these different things, like I said, are more form-based than essence-based. In other words, I'm trying to teach you what and how to do it. But now, this course is going to be different. Mind expansion meditation is going to take us outside of a religious limitation context and bring us into the greater psychological, psychic realities of things. This is going to be an unstructured course. There's not going to be any set number of classes. There's not going to be any time limit. I'm going to interact with the students who are involved with the course on a regular basis, which of course are our KosherTorah School supporting body. Those who are of course supporting us at the $50 level a month and more. They will be, obvious active interactors with the course. For those of you who are not members of our school and who want to just take this course alone, I will offer it for those of you who are interested at a level of just $30 a month. It will only be for this course. You will not obviously have access to all the other courses that I'll be beginning shortly that our regular monthly supporters will have access to. So if you're interested in that, email me, real simple, my name, Ariel Tzadok, ARIELTZADOK @gmail.com, and I'll be more than happy to sign you up for this course. And again, if you're interested in the other courses soon to come, the meditation, the Mysteries of Genesis course, Sefer HaIyun, Book of Contemplation, eventually Otzorot Haim, then we can get you all set up for all those too. But if you want to pay $30 for each of the four courses, $120 a month as opposed to $50, hey, we're a yeshiva. We always need to make ends as much as we can, and I thank you all for your support. But okay, business aside, let's get real here. Let's talk about what meditation is and what meditation is not. First of all, if you look at all the courses of meditation that are out there today, what you see is mostly psychologically based relaxation techniques. We all know, and this is the important point, look around us today. You will not be able to deny that society, civilization as we know it, is unraveling rather quickly. There's a reason for it, very big reason for it. It's not just here in the United States, it's all over the world. And the causes, believe it or not, are not just political, social, or economic. All of those are just external manifestations of the inner, real true problem, which is psychological. Our society today has predominated a mindset, a way of thinking, which is so disingenuous, so disconnected from the inner truths of reality, that each and every individual, internally, psychologically, subconsciously and unconsciously, feels it, and as such feels disenfranchised, disconnected, unimportant, lost. And in that respect, minds, souls of that nature conform into the rigidities of society, and as such lose their identity. Whenever an individual loses one's identity, it creates a psychic storm, kind of like a poltergeist experience without all the Hollywood hoopla. Now, compound that not just by one individual, but by a world, and you recognize the nature of the psychological cause of the insanity that's going on all around us. So, that's pretty much what it's all about. Where is this all going to lead? Well, unless we have some literal global awakening, well, then obviously global negativity is going to build upon itself over and over and over again. And as they say, one thing leads to another. For those of you who are of my Jewish background, you might very well be familiar with the wise words of our sages in Pirkei Avot, the sayings of our fathers, right? Mitzvah goreret mitzvah, something positive, good deed, will lead to another good deed. Avera goreret avera. But a negative will always lead to another negative. Right? Think of it, if you will, like a spiral, a cyclone. Either it's going up or it's going down. Energy is either going up or energy is either going down. You see, the most important thing to understand about any and every meditative reality, voila, right out of the matrix. Every reality is energy. What is this energy? Forget the details. It doesn't matter. What is the name of the energy? Forget the details. It doesn't matter. You want to call it nefesh. You want to call it chi. You want to call it prana. You want to call it kundalini. You want to call it orgone. Who cares? These are just words. This is something very, very important to understand. There is an objective reality underlying everything, whether we like it or not. The question is, are we in our present state of mind ever able to actually see it? It's a dramatic pause there. And I didn't say experience it. Experience, I think we can. But experiencing something and seeing something is the difference between, if you will, touching and actually recognizing and understanding what it is that we're touching. So, in this course, not only do we have to identify what it is that we're touching, we have to understand it. So if we're going to, in quote, reach out and touch someone somewhere, who and what, when, where, why, how? These are the important things we need to understand about meditation. Meditation, again, is not just relaxation. It's even more than just self-reflection. Many a time we meditate with the specific intent to tap into one's individual unconscious. In order to get to the unconscious, one must pass through one's individual subconscious. Look at it as, if you will, three different levels. The conscious mind, the subconscious mind, which is the stuff pushed out of consciousness, and then the great underlying unconscious. So, how do I get from the small conscious to the great unconscious? Got to pass through that subconscious layer. And what do we call that subconscious layer in our Kabbalah speak? klipot, the husks, the shells, the fallen kings, the blemishes in our behavior, in our emotions, in our minds. This may be a never-ending struggle. Now, some might refer to it, and again, in our Torah talk, as the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination. But no, that's not what I'm talking about. Evil inclination is a term. It's used to describe our inclination of desire towards the physical world. Nothing wrong with an inclination of desire for the physical world. If you enjoy the things of the physical world, as they say in Yiddish, a gesundheit, enjoy. Who cares? What difference does it make? There's nothing wrong with the good things of this world. If God or the universe has blessed one through one's efforts to be wealthy, and one enjoys certain finer things in life, knock yourself out, enjoy. Who cares? What difference does it make? Dramatic pause. I have that caveat ready. As long as they don't hold you back, as long as they don't hold you down. You see, that is one of the biggest curses of wealth, is that sometimes some people are so attached to the things they have that it tends to blur their eyes as to who they are. Erich Fromm, the great psychologist, wrote a book about this called To Have or To Be. What and how to identify and associate yourself. We asked, like basic questions. So many of you here in the audience, you're listening to me live. Some of you might be doctors or lawyers or whatever. And if I ask you, who are you? You all say, well, I am a lawyer. I am a rabbi. I am a this, I am a that. But now, let's strip that away. Let's say, okay, who are you if you weren't a lawyer, a rabbi, a doctor? What is your essence? What is your true self? That is a very important, obviously, goal to be accomplished. Yeah. The goal of meditation? No. Sorry, not even. That comes along the way. The ultimate goal of meditation is the fulfillment, believe it or not, of the Torah mission. Look in the Torah, the entire Jewish Bible. It begins with a specific concept and ends with that exact same concept. In the beginning, it says, God created the heavens and the earth. God's the author of all things. It also says that God created all humanity in the divine image. So what does that mean? Think about it. We Jews recite this as a prayer 3 times a day. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. We recite it in Shaharit in the morning. We recite it at Mariv at night. And we recite it right before we go to bed at night. Kirat Shema Lamita. 3 times. The statement of our Torah as a theological concept is the concept of unity. Ultimately, essentially, inevitably, we are all one. Who is this we that I'm talking about? Well, did we just say it? God said in the beginning, all humanity, all human beings. Darn it. I did quote another verse, didn't I? Oh, that's right. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. You and I and we're not just one as a human race. The human race is still part and parcel of the greater whole of the universe. What do you think about that? We are part of a greater whole of all things. Meditation is, like the Torah message is, in the beginning, unity. Go back in now the Jewish way of how the Bible is organized. And the final books of the Bible, you have the prophets, and the Torah, the prophets, and the writings, and you go look at the final revelations historically, are the prophets, Zechariah, and of course Ezekiel. It's the end. This is the Babylonian times and the like, Malachi, and they all speak of the great war to come. Zechariah, of course, was the famous prophet's reading, the Haftarah that we read on the first day of Sukkot. As I said, we're right now in the middle of Sukkot, and of course on Shabbat Chol HaMoed we read the famous Haftarah of Gog and Magog, the great ultimate war. Well, what's the purpose of the war of Gog and Magog, Armageddon, the great war? Well, what's it all about? Because God's going to punish all those evil sinners. No. I really don't think that's really what it's about. The point of the Armageddon, if you will, the Gog and Magog, is to reunite everything and to bring it all back together. Go read the end of Zechariah. On that day, God will be one, and his name one. It will be for the sake of reconnecting all humanity with the greater whole of the universe. So what do we need? War and death and destruction? That's just like a broom to sweep away everything that's the subconscious, the klipa, which is hindering that reality from dawning in us all. For those of you, my Ancient Aliens crowd here, one of the great questions we always get at the alien cons, of course, people want to know is, when is there going to be disclosure? When are the governments of the world finally going to get together, get up on the podium and say, okay, this is this and this is that? Most likely, never. But that doesn't mean the disclosure won't come. The disclosure will come from us as we expand and grow in consciousness. There is a teaching, a letter that was written by the Baal Shem Tov, Rabbi Israel ben Eliezer, the founder of the Hasidic movement back in the 18th century in Eastern Europe. And he wrote a letter to one of his students there, and he told him about one of his dreams. He says, I once did this meditative ascent, the kind of stuff that we teach here at KosherTorah School. And he says, I met Mashiach. Oh, really? Oh, cool. Interesting. And needless to say, as any interested faithful Jew asks, yo, dude, Melech HaMashiach, we've been sitting around waiting, here on the watch for you for a long time. What's going on? When are you finally gonna show up? And he answered the Baal Shem Tov. He says, when people are able to make the type of meditative ascent like you're doing right now, and that teaching spreads around the world, that's the best time to look for it. So you see, the disclosure comes from us. That's what the Baal Shem Tov taught. And I have always embraced that teaching and have dedicated our entire KosherTorah School to establishing that reality. So the meditation that we're going to deal with now is not going to be follow my instructions, I am the Rebbe, I am the teacher, this. No. It's going to teach you how to experience so you can see with your own eyes, because that is what we call aliyah. Now let's talk about the details about how this stuff gets done. All right, now when we get into our class, as I said, it's going to be an open, ongoing class, no structure. Before I get into the details, let me explain to you why I'm doing it without structure. Name me something that has no structure. How about water? Water flows. Being its fluidity, it's always changing. It's always in movement. The real power of the mind, in order to tap into the unconscious dimension, which will then grant you access to higher realms of reality, which will not only give you greater philosophical insights into the nature of the universe, but will actually put you into active contact with the entities who live and inhabit those domains. And you could say, gee, that sounds kind of like really cool. Well, just remember one thing about the entities who exist in those other domains that we tap into through our unconscious. Just like on this side of consciousness, you have the nice guys and the not so nice guys. Well, on the other side, you got them just the same. And anyone who has ever done any kind of meditation and has expanded consciousness to the point of becoming aware of the presence of other entities knows you got to, as they say, test the spirits. So if and when you go into a meditative state and all of a sudden this being of white light appears, glowing white robes, long white beard, big white wings, and you go, oh, it's an angel. No, it's probably some entity dressed up as an angel trying to snooker you out of whatever life force, energy, whatever else that you may have. And you could say, but my heart is so pure. What the heck does that have to do with anything? Who cares about the nature and level of your heart? Do you think that protects you from everything? Reality doesn't work like that. Oh, yes, it does. And I'll tell you what, you go out and experience and you see with your own eyes and live and learn. This we have always known. So when you read the story of Ezekiel's experience with the chariot, if you remember, it says that he saw, of course, the cloud, the storm, the cloud, the flashes of fire, and the like. Well, I've talked all about this in many of my works, explained the psychological nature. This is how we penetrate beyond the subconscious. If and when we see things through the eyes of the subconscious, it's like darkened or skewered glasses. It perverts the nature of the revelation of what we see. 9 out of 10 people have a problem with that. And that's just the way it is. So, ultimately, we have to learn how to see beyond that, how to see through that. I got my boy here hanging out. Anyway, so, in this course, the secrets of ascent are what we are going to address. Techniques. Like I said to you, there are a gazillion techniques. Which one is the right one? That's the question I always get. Right? I see here in the text, I actually see some of the pictures of the people's names here. Many of them I do recognize because I've interacted, worked with them over many years. And we've taught many different systems, like I said. And again, I'm always given the question, what's the right one? And the answer is pretty much any and all of them can work. Now, this is a very important point. And the more fundamentalist of you are not going to like this. But here goes. When you expand the power of the mind, and I'll explain exactly what that is in the time that we have left, you will start to have experiential awarenesses in your mind, interactions with possible entities, who in your dreams or visions may appear to you in various forms. Curiously, the nature of the experience of the various forms will be dependent upon your individual cultural, religious, spiritual background. A point very eloquently made by Carl Jung, father of analytical psychology. He's the one who talked about there being, the collective unconscious, wherein which we all have that unity from which we're all connected. That unity from which we are all connected in certain modern lingo, some call it the Akashic records. Or it is just tapping into the collective unconscious, and from there, the power of mind to connect anywhere. But it's curious. Jung stated that there were what we call racial subdivisions within the collective unconscious. Essentially, not only are individuals uniques, but so are groups of individuals. So, even though there's no such thing as an, unquote, Jewish soul, that's a myth. There very much is a Jewish psyche. We wouldn't say that there's a Christian soul, but there is a Christian psyche, Muslim psyche, Hindu psyche, Buddhist psyche, for that matter, secular psyche. Groups of similar mind will have a similar expression and ability of experience. Now, this is borne out by reality. If and when Jews meditate within the context of a Judaic meditative tradition, they will experience visions within that context. Jews, for example, will see pictures of Eliyahu HaNavi, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Catholics, in their meditative tradition, will often have visions of the Virgin Mary or saints of their tradition. Protestants will have visions of Jesus or something of that nature. Hindus will see Krishna or other things like that. Buddhists will see within their own contexts. You always have within the subjective nature all the individual subjectivities. And you got to ask, well, what's going on? How is it that everything is so subjective? I mean, go out to the public stores today, you'll see many Christians who write books that this one had a vision or had a body experience and they went to heaven, they saw Jesus. And the Catholics, like at Fatima, was it, in Portugal, that had the visions of the Virgin Mary. These things are not demonic evil lies. They're just the subjective experiences, like what Carl Jung wrote, the racial subdivisions of the collective unconscious. And in that respect, we must recognize that each one, even in our Judaic context, is a facade, a veil, a klippah. Klippah. Oh, didn't we just say that was like the bad stuff? Well, remember, you got to go beyond to get to the essence. We each see within a context, and within the nature of that context, I just had a vision of Elijah. My Christian neighbor, he just had a vision of Jesus. My Catholic neighbor just had a vision of Mary. And Mary said this, and Jesus said that, and Eliyahu Navi says the other thing. You know, it gets all so confusing. I mean, don't these guys like ever get together in heaven and like talk to each other and, get the message right? How many of you might have ever seen this phenomenon of what we call channeled literature? I've seen so many people channel literature. It's a big popular genre today. And this one channels the Archangel Michael. And this one channels the Archangel Gabriel. And even had a very popular guy a number of years ago channel God himself. Wow. And you look at the stuff, from a scholarly point of view, and every one of them is telling a different story. And some people are channeling Michael from one, and someone's channeling Michael from another, and you got like 2 or 3 different Michaels channeling, and no one seems to get their act together. There's no consistency. There's no coherence. What we are dealing with is the individual's experience, which is subjective. Is it true? What is the nature of truth? And we talked about that subconscious level. Well, how actually do we activate it? Putting all this talk aside of all these concerns and subjectivities, okay, cool and groovy. This is going to be the way and the nature of this course. How do we get there? What are we going to do? Like I said, there are 101 different techniques to use. And which one's the right one for you, time will tell. But aside from which technique to use and the right one for you, time will tell, let's underline how the mind works to bring about the genesis, the beginning of this path. And this path we call ascent or aliyah. Ascent, not necessarily that you're like channeling up and taking an elevator through the skies, but rather expanding the mind, Somebody's saying here, don't take channeled information seriously unless you resonate with it. Well, I'm gonna add to that. Don't take channeled information seriously, even if you resonate with it. Not all channeled literature. Remember, some people are channeling. This is exactly what I'm getting at. We have, and this is good. It comes out of Kabbalah speak. It comes out of philosophy. It comes out of psychology. Jung speak. Everybody speaks about this. Two elements and aspects of the mind: the intellect, the rational intellect, and the intuitive imagination. The intuitive imagination is like that water that I was talking about before, that pictorial, nebulous, flowing stream of things. Our mindset today, our matrix, is a very rigid form of black and white. We are told that reality is as reality be, and there's nothing beyond what you and I can see. Dramatic pause here, because you and I know that's not always true. But then again, you and I are going to have experiences to which the secular rationalist is going to say, it's all in your mind. It's all your imagination. None of it is real. And they will extrapolate from that and say, not only is what you experience not real, there's no such thing as a spirituality at all. It's just chemicals in the brain. There's no such thing as a soul. There's no such thing as a God. There is no such value to any religions. It's eat and drink, for tomorrow we die. And that's their narrow mindset. Needless to say, the results of that narrow mindset is causing a psychological apocalypse in the human experience. And as such, that is the reality of what we're dealing with. That is the level of the negativity. So in that level of negativity, this is what we're dealing with.
I'm leaving you.
This is the level of the negativity. Because when you create and allow a negativity to exist, remember we said before about Pirkei Avot? Avira goreret avira. Negativity leads to further negativity, and you create a cyclone effect. And that's just the way it is. So, here we go. Using the power of that rational mind, which, didn't we just say 2 seconds ago that it creates this narrow limitation? It creates this narrow limitation when you don't take the existence of the imagination seriously. Well, we all have imaginations. Look at the nature of our imaginations in action. We have profound brilliance in literature, the movies, wonderful, wonderful stories that are out there to teach us experiences. I myself use examples like from The Matrix, Star Wars, Star Trek, one of my favorites, Dune. Now, these are wonderful, imaginative experiences, thoughts that the authors have written.